In this episode, I want to show you how to give a finishing touch to the background and how to arrange some of your different 3D forms to make a nice composition. So I'm just going to go ahead and click and drag these objects and position them back onto my artboard. Going to do some arranging to get this to look like it'll all fit on there, and I might want to move some stuff around. Say maybe move the bowl over here and we'll switch the position that vase with the bowl. And I'm just trying to balance my composition. And maybe this plate needs to be adjusted. I'm going to make that a little smaller. So I'm holding shift to keep the proportions the same. And move the saucer and the cup over a little bit as well. Now from here, I might want to give the suggestion of maybe a tabletop or give a sense of place. So I'm going to use the rectangle tool and I'm going to draw a rectangular shape behind all this to make it look like it's sitting on something. And maybe we can take off the stroke and give the fill a gradient. Now as you can see, obviously it's covering that, so I do want to send this to the back. So I click Object, Arrange, and then go over to Send to Back. And there we have the surface of that gradient fill behind my pottery forms. And maybe we'll adjust the angle of the gradient, and then we'll reverse that. Maybe we'll do something like that. Alright, so from here, maybe then we can create another gradient for the background behind this as if it were a wall. And I think for this, maybe we'll just go with a fading sky gradient. And I do want to send that to the back also. So go to Object, Arrange, Send to Back. And let's cancel that out. So basically we have the appearance of several pottery forms on a tabletop. At the moment they appear like they're kind of floating in space. So I do want to give some shadow effects to these various objects. And there's several ways to do that. Probably the easiest way to start would be to create a drop shadow. So I'm going to go up to Effect, down to Stylize, then over to Drop Shadow. That brings up the drop shadow panel. First thing I'm going to do is click the preview button. And if I like the results of that drop shadow, I can pretty much leave it alone. Now, if I want to maybe bring this down a little bit, you do have some offsets for your X and your Y axis. I'm going to just click on this to bring that down just a little. Give it an effect that that shadow's underneath. That looks pretty good. Kind of like what I see there. I'm going to go ahead and keep that. Then click OK. Now as I move on to the other objects, if I go back to the the stylized drop shadow, those same settings should be pretty much the same as previously. Maybe we'll bring that down just a little bit more. And then click OK. I'm trying to kind of get some shadow effects on each of these objects. So again, go to Effect, down to Stylize, and then over to Drop Shadow. I'm going to click Preview just to get an idea what it's going to look like. Maybe we'll move that down. Now I'm not crazy about what it's doing here. It's casting a shadow over the saucer, and it's just not really giving me the appearance that I want. So to get back into that effect, if I go over to my appearance panel, I can adjust the drop shadow just by clicking on it. And I'm going to click Preview. I want to bring this up a bit more. I don't want it extending below the saucer. That looks a lot better. Maybe we'll make this one a little darker by adjusting the opacity. And that looks like a pretty good place for shadow. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And here I'm going to switch to the plate. Go back up to Effect, down to Stylize, over to Drop Shadow, and then we'll add a drop shadow here. Let's take a look and see what that looks like. Pretty good. I think we're going to go ahead and keep that. So I'm going to click OK. The drop shadow there. And then lastly, the saucer needs drop shadow. So again, I go to Effect, Stylize, over to Drop Shadow. Click Preview just to get an idea what results I'm going to have. And that's looking a little too low for this, so I want to bring that up. So I'm going to click on the Y offset and decrease that to. And it has a reverse effect. It ends up bringing the shadow upwards. So from there, I've successfully completed my dinnerware composition, and I can just go ahead and click OK. And that's pretty much it for adding background to your dinnerware composition. Very basic way to do it.